You can walk into a room and know something is wrong before anyone says a single word. Nobody has raised their voice. Nobody has said anything strange, but you already feel it. A glance held 1 second too long. A smile that does not quite reach the eyes. A sentence that sounds fine on the surface but carries something colder underneath. You feel it before you can even explain it. People sometimes call this a gift, and in some ways it is. But there is a part of it nobody talks about. The part where your mind cannot put it down. You take that small moment home with you. You replay it. You turn it over and over, looking for what you missed or what you caused. What starts as a 5-second silence in a meeting can turn into an entire evening of thinking. If this sounds familiar, you already know that carrying this kind of awareness is not always easy. You have probably noticed that other people seem to move through the day without this constant background noise. They hear a message from their boss and think nothing of it. You read the exact same message and your whole body reacts before your brain even finishes the sentence. So where does this come from? Why do some people carry so much awareness while others seem to walk through life untouched by it? Psychology tends to point to 2 different roads that lead to the same place. For some people, this sensitivity was simply there from the beginning. Researchers describe this as being a highly sensitive person, someone whose nervous system takes in more of the world than most. Sounds are louder, moods are stronger. Small details that other people miss completely land on them with full force. Their world always plays in a slightly higher resolution. For other people, this awareness was not something they were born with. It was something they built, quietly, without ever choosing to. Picture a child growing up in a house where the mood could shift without warning. That child cannot afford to relax. They learn to listen for the sound of tires on the driveway, to know what kind of night it will be. They learn to read a slammed cabinet the way other people read a sentence. They learn exactly when to walk into the room smiling and when to disappear into it quietly instead. Nobody taught them this. Their mind built it on its own, one tense evening at a time, because somewhere along the way it learned a simple rule. This is not always safe. Keep watching. That watching never fully turns off. It just grows up with them. There is a strange thing that happens once this awareness becomes part of you. It stops being something you do, and it becomes something you are. Here is what that can look like in an ordinary day. Your boss sends a short message. Come see me later. For most people, that is nothing. For you, that single sentence can sit in your chest for hours. You notice the shorter tone. You notice there is no explanation. You start building a case in your head for what you might have done wrong, long before you even know if anything is wrong at all. You are not just hearing words in conversations. You are hearing the small pause before someone answers you. You are noticing the tiny shift in someone's posture when a subject changes. Half of you is present, nodding, holding your coffee, taking part in the moment. The other half is somewhere else entirely, quietly taking notes. This is part of why you can feel completely drained after a day that, on paper, was calm and uneventful. Your body was sitting still, but your mind was running for hours. What is interesting is that this same awareness does not stay pointed outward. Eventually it turns and points at you. You do not just feel an emotion. You examine it. You question whether you are allowed to feel it. Sadness shows up on an ordinary afternoon, and instead of simply letting it exist, a second voice appears, asking why you feel this way when your life is actually fine. Even a moment of laughter at dinner can get picked apart a second later. Did that sound too loud? Did that seem forced? It is a little like dancing while constantly checking your reflection to fix your posture. You may never miss a step, but you lose the feeling of actually dancing. This same awareness can quietly change how you experience closeness with other people too. You start noticing the layer underneath kindness. A coworker brings you coffee, and instead of simply enjoying it, part of you wonders what they might want later. A compliment does not always feel like just a compliment anymore. An apology does not always feel complete, because you can sense when someone is smoothing things over rather than truly meaning it. This is not the same as losing trust in people completely. It is smaller and quieter than that. It is simply the loss of taking things at face value. And it can feel lonely, even surrounded by people, because it seems like nobody else notices the layer you are seeing. You know what is funny? The same mind that notices every hidden layer in other people often becomes the place everyone brings their feelings to. You can walk into a room and feel the tension between two people who have not said a word to each other. You become the person who softens the mood, who finds the right words, who somehow always knows what someone needs before they say it. People feel calmer around you. What they do not always see is what it costs you to be that steady. Sometimes this awareness even shows up in the body itself. A fast heartbeat after a coffee can feel like alarm bells instead of simple caffeine. A quiet, ordinary day can still carry a low hum of unease, even when nothing is actually wrong. This sounds small until you experience it yourself. Underneath all of it is often a quiet belief. If you can see everything coming, maybe it cannot hurt you. If you can predict the disappointment, maybe you can survive it more easily when it arrives. But awareness, used this way, rarely protects you completely. Instead, it can pull you slightly out of your own life, always one step ahead of the moment, managing it, instead of actually living inside it. People rarely talk about this, but the goal was never to feel less. Awareness like this cannot simply be switched off, and there is nothing wrong with you for having it. What tends to change over time is not how much you notice, it is how much you decide to carry. Not every pause is a warning sign. Not every emotion needs to be solved the second it appears. Not every quiet observation needs to become your responsibility. You can still feel a room the moment you walk into it. You can still notice what other people miss. But it does not all have to sit on your shoulders at once. Maybe you are not too much. Maybe you were simply paying close attention, for a very long time, to a world that needed you to.